audio thing, but all right, there we go. Hey guys, what is up? We're back once more. Here's Dan, and I guess now that we're at our third, we can call this a series. This is like an action series, I guess, So Dan's locked into a very lucrative contract for that, and exclusive as we continue our journey into actiony stuff. But we are even though I said I like to jump around, we are actually doing a movie from the same year as last one, 83, which is a great year I was born. So good year. This Revenge of the Ninja. Maybe it would have made more sense to do Enter the Ninja because it was the first one, and really why I wanted to cover it.
Not so connected, though.
Yeah, part of the canon's ninja trilogy. The all with Sho Kazuki and featuring ninjas, but you're not connected story wise. So it's Enter the Ninja in 81, this in 83, and Ninja 3 The Domination, I think just the next year, maybe 84. I think something like that. As Canon was firing this stuff off. Because, I just wanted to cover, we had done sort of a Western one, then we did a Hong Kong one with Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung and stuff. I just want to keep moving around to different things. And, of course, maybe a bit overlooked is some of the Japanese stuff. This, of course, is not a fully Japanese production. It's made by Canon, shot in, I think, I want to say Utah for some reason.
Salt Lake City, actually, and it was to get around. LA's permits are insane. That's only gotten worse since 1983. So Salt Lake City, the film commission for Utah, just basically gave them a deal where they had no permits. The crew got paid less. It was more economical.
Right. They were trying, the Utah people, they were trying to build up their own sort of film industry thing. So they were like, yeah, you can have whatever you want.
Yeah, for sure. Shooting there too. Canon, it's not necessarily that they're big productions compared to modern day direct to VOD action films, but they were lower budget than, their studio counterparts at the time. So they don't look it for the most part, though.
And of course, Canon itself was another reason why I had to do that. And since I have a really bad habit of not seeing stuff in the chat too late, I'll try to acknowledge it quicker this time. I see connected there. It says something, somebody liking the shirt. Thanks. I try to wear more interesting shirts when I'm on here. I don't know. You guys, ideally, we hope people watch the movie along with us. But if you look, at least, I don't know, something interesting. But yeah, I like this shirt. This shirt has a lot of dye in it, so it was difficult the first few washes. Yeah, there are special things you can get that drain the color so that it doesn't go all over to the other stuff in your load of laundry. So there's my little tip there. If you get a really brightly colored shirt, you can get stuff that will mitigate that, so I wouldn't wind up green all over my clothes. But it's had a few washes now, so I think it's good. But yeah, it's a cool shirt, so thank you for that. Shout out Canon Films. Yeah, so really, it's one of the reasons I want to talk about. They're sort of an institution, of course, at this time. They coincided with a couple things happening. Canon had been around since 1967, originally formed by a couple guys, and throughout the 70s, it was basically a low budget to no budget exploitation type style movies, and they had trouble with distribution and things like that because sometimes they were even accused of doing stuff like softcore porn, which wasn't technically what they were doing, but you could see why they would get lumped in with stuff like that. So eventually in 1979, they did sell it, and they sold it to a pair of Israeli film producers who were cousins. And they were the ones that really turned Canon into what we think of it in its heyday in the 80s, where it was very focused on B-movie action. Although people who look into it will see that Canon covered a pretty wide variety of genres. Actually, they do stuff like fantasy and speculative fiction and all sorts of weird stuff if you really dig into it. So that's kind of interesting. If those were Menahan Golan and Yoram Globus, two cousins, and they were really the main architects of direction that Canon would go through in those days. And at its peak in 1986, it produced 40 some movies. They had a very quantity over quality approach, just to do a lot of stuff. But they did try to build up the company's rep a bit. At one point they signed both Christopher Reeves and Sylvester Stallone to, I think, 2-picture deals to try to up their profile a little bit. I think that's how they got wound up with Superman 4. I don't
The
think
one
there's
that
any
killed it.
world. Yeah, I don't think there's any world where Superman 4 was going to be good. So I'm not entirely putting the blame all on Canon, but it is true that, like, the once proud Superman franchise, I mean, 3 was pretty bad. It sunk so low at this point. Like, Christopher Reeves wasn't even going to do it unless he could do his anti-nuke thing, which I'm not against or anything, but it's just not a good movie. And around this time, the Canon was actually starting to get investigated by the SEC for, like, misrepresenting budgets, including most notably Superman 4, because possibly they were hiding money. So that seems possible when you look at the product of, like, Superman 4, just how terrible it is. But yeah, those around the time they had managed to get some other negotiation rights, including, it was a big coup from, I think, Mattel to get He-Man. So they did the Masters of the Universe movie in 1987, and they did the predictable low budget thing, which is funny because this follows into today's filmmaking that's not necessarily low budget, which is like, let's take a property that's set in its own fantasy world and just drag it into the real world as if that's something interesting or good. I mean, in the case of Masters of the Universe, they did it because their budget was shit. So it's like, they'll just run around in modern day New Jersey because we need them to.
That would have been a complex production, even for a studio with a big budget at that time. Very hard to create Eternia and make it proper.
Exactly.
But
there's like few things in cinema I hate more than that I hate as a kid, hate now, is like dragging something from its own world into the real world as if that's interesting or at all satisfying. Like, I hate it. They even did with the fucking Smurfs the first time around, right? It's like, the Smurfs are loose in New York with Doogie Howser. Like, I wanted to see the Smurfs world. They eventually did do fully animated Smurfs movies in their own world, but it didn't start out that way. I just hate that premise so much. I've always hated it, and I get it. It's more because of budget than anything else. Yeah.
Canon is a company that made such interesting films because, of course, they came at an Israeli perspective on America. So you have something like Last American Virgin, which came out a year before this. That movie never would have been made in the U.S. or North America, anywhere, really. It was unique in their vision of things. And occasionally they would surprise people with an A-level picture. I mean, Runaway Train is a brilliant, wonderful movie that kind of put the studios on notice that Canon was capable of doing these big things. But then they throw ridiculous amounts of money at an arm wrestling movie with Stallone. So,
yeah, well,
they made
the name, right? I mean, you're right. And they tried things. They got John Cassavetes, John Frankenheimer, I think even Jean-Luc Godard, to get involved in projects. Again, all trying really hard to, like, raise their profile. So I feel like, again, hindsight 2020, and we can always just look at stuff after the fact. And it's not like I know anything about producing or anything like that. We have all this benefit of seeing the trends in films. But it feels like if Canon had just sort of narrowed their focus to something instead of just trying all these different things, they might have been able to survive. But at the same time, as we said, the chaotic approach is sort of what endears us to it now. It was a very good documentary from 2014 called Electric Boogaloo, the wild untold story of Canon films, which is very good. I think Brett Ratner produced that.
There's also Go Boys, which is like more the one from their perspective.
Yeah, I haven't seen that
yet. That's also very well worth watching. Their business model was always so interesting, especially some of the posters they created without a script or even a plan to make the movie, just to get the investors excited. And some of the stuff, quite frankly, that they were scheduled to make and didn't make. Michael Dudikoff, as crazy as it sounds, Spider-Man. Yeah.
I mean, I'm super glad that didn't happen, but yeah.
Yeah,
of course, Michael Dudikoff starring in the other Ninja films, American Ninja, and the director of this film, what's his name? Something Berg.
Sam Furstenberg.
He's also the director of the next Ninja movie, Domination, and then he's the director of the first 2 American Ninja films. Of course. Speaking of posters, of course, they originally had Chuck Norris in mind for that, and you can look it up. You can find a poster for American Ninja featuring Chuck Norris's likeness, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Can't even remember why he couldn't do it. I think maybe he just had other projects or something. Or maybe he
Yeah,
didn't want his face covered. I don't know.
yeah, it was. I mean, for a while there, it was Norris or Dudikoff. Dudikoff made some really good films. Sam Furstenberg also directed him in one I'm fond of called Avenging Force, which is a lot of fun. And he continued to make movies for a long time. He did a movie called Riverbend, which is kind of a blaxploitation film that nobody talks about, but it's quite unique. Quality varies, but he did Operation Delta Force. He did a movie with with Hulk Hogan called McKinsey's Island. He did quite a lot of entertaining stuff.
And of course, Furstenberg also directed Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. So
Breakin' 2, yeah,
yeah.
He
Which
talks
the
about
first on-screen appearance of Jean-Claude Van Damme, who of course has his own association with Canon. Eventually getting into starring in Cyborg, right? That's there.
Cyborg is a very expensive looking film because it used a lot of sets from unmade Canon films, one of which I believe was Masters of the Universe 2 that never got made, obviously. So if you really go back and watch Cyborg, it's like, wow, this looks more expensive than you would expect it to, and that's the reason.
Yeah. So as I said, maybe it would have made more sense to do the first one, but oh well, we're gonna do Revenge. And yeah, we can get going here, and I'll talk about ninjas as we go, because yeah, but I wanted to do something, a bit of an intro about canons. That's pretty good. But yeah, I figure most people watching have their own history with canon and have enjoyed them, both sincerely and ironically, because canon's in that unique sort of spot in pop culture where they can certainly do a so bad it's good type thing, but also pull off some decently entertaining movies for sure. And I would count this among them. Yeah. It is a strange trilogy, but it is very cool.
It is a very strange trilogy. Yeah.
So I've got it queued up right to the MGM logo. Like it's on, it's already on the screen. Is how I have it. It's not black. The MGM logo has appeared.
Okay,
it's not your roar.
I'll get it past the Kino Lorber thing because I do. So you see it.
Yes, it's fully up. But
all right, sweet. I just paused it on
okay
mine. So yeah, I'm watching it on the Kino Blu-ray there for those that are hunting down the physical media.
So we'll do 3, 2, 1, get it. And of course, my volume is super high as usual. Yeah, depending on what streaming service I use, I can never tell what kind of volume I'm going to get. Right, like I have to turn Disney Plus way the fuck up because it's super low. But this is on Prime for me on the MGM channel.
Mm-hmm.
It's blasting me.
Beautiful Tokyo, Japan. Actually, this opening scene.
Nice font here.
Huh?
I said nice font.
Oh yeah, this is not Tokyo. They didn't have the budget that Enter the Ninja had, but it is. This is actually a garden in LA, I believe. Even though almost the whole movie was shot in Salt Lake City, but pretty sure this might have been in LA before they switched over.
It's interesting, yeah. And of course, Keith Vitale, a very good martial artist. He's got a nice YouTube channel where he reminisces and talks about the industry, stuff like that. He's in a lot of cool movies. I think the best one is probably he did shortly after this. He did Wheels on Meals with the Three Dragons, Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and Yuen Biao. He has a really great role in that. He's just sort of a henchman, but he is very prominent. And one thing that makes that movie stand out a bit is like him and who's the other? Not counting, of course, Benny, but there's one other Western martial artist that's sort of paired up with him when they fight. I can't remember which guy it is right now. But anyway, there's a couple, like one thing that maybe makes it a little different is like it actually shows him and the other guy overmatching Jackie and Yuen. And it's been said, like, it's because Hong Kong audiences were so savvy, they realize these guys are great martial artists and they're taller and they're longer. So they're actually overmatching them. So there's a part where they actually run away from them. And then towards the end, when Vitale has this one-on-one with Yuen Biao spends most of the fight. It's not really a fight. He's just trying to run away from him. Also, there's a good story about that too, is that Sammo Hung said, like, when he told them they were going to go, Keith Batali said, "Well, we don't. What's the choreography? We don't actually have any blocking for the scene. I know we fight, and it ends with him hitting me in the thing. But what are we doing?" He said, "Oh, well, Yun's just going to run around the room. You're going to chase him." He's like, "What? How do? What do you mean?" He's like, "Don't act. Just do your very best. Honestly, try to chase Yun." He's like, "Well, if I catch him, that kind of ruins the whole thing." He's like, "You won't catch him," and that's what happens. So it's just Yunbu on the fly improvising with him chasing around, and then they hit their marks when they land on the opposite things, and then he's KO'd by the jug. And the other story about that, of course, is that the jug was not a prop; it was a real, solidly made jug. And he always luckily they did it in one take, so he only had to get hit by it once. But he always suspected that it was them paying him back because in some earlier scenes he had accidentally hit both Yun and Samo, and he thought, "Oh, this is their way of getting me back."
Quite the gruesome opening here. Which
it's very Shakespearean, I think.
Yeah. In fact, there was an unrated cut of this.
Look at that. A ninja star on a kid's head. Like
stroking right to a kid's head. Yeah, they violence was a little nastier. Not necessarily gorier, but these movies, they did break some taboos you don't see as much now.
Yeah.
And
so of course we have what we're used to, the stereotypical ninja here, which I'll talk about, because like this is really, I think 81, the first movie, was the start of sort of the ninja craze, not just in the West but all over the place. Because of my age, ninjas were like the cool thing, like when I was a kid in like the late 80s, early 90s, Ninja Turtles being a big part of that, of course. Ninja Turtles have their roots as a comic that was spoofing other comics, the main one being the 1980s, the early 80s Daredevil, like by Frank Miller. So Frank Miller, I'm not trying to hijack this and turn this into a comic thing, but I mean, Frank Miller was, of course, very ahead of his time back then, because he was one of the few Western artists who had access and took real influence from Japanese manga. So he'd read stuff like Lone Wolf and Cub, which, of course, wasn't translated back then. He couldn't read it. But a lot of that stuff is not very dialogue heavy. And, of course, he was an artist. He was taking in the visual language of it all. And so he's the one who retconned part of Daredevil's origin in the early 80s, that about being trained by Stick and the Ninja Clan, the Hand, and all that stuff. And it's so beautiful. It's so wonderfully done. This is volume. So I'm sure if I turn to any random page, I can find ninjas.
This opening, too, a lot of shows actual students from his dojo were used in this, and the stunt guy, Stephen Lambert, I believe was his name. He wore a lot of hats in this.
Yeah, he's basically the main villain anytime he's dressed up doing the ninja stuff, right?
Yeah,
the actor was not a martial artist.
So. The actor was not a martial artist at all. So I mean, Lambert was all over the place, sometimes shooting himself in this movie because he was just needed. Pretty cool fight choreography. I mean, this isn't like so much a Hong Kong style movie. I mean, it's definitely Americanized as you'd expect it to be, but there's some pretty solid fight choreography.
Oh yeah, it's one of the reasons I picked it. I always try to pick stuff that still has good fights. But yeah, and of course the Foot Clan from Ninja Turtles is based on the Hand, which not something I would have known about when I was a kid or anything like that, but you find out. So Frank Miller, and of course Frank Miller did around 83, he did Ronin, which is one of considered his early masterpieces, about a Japanese samurai from the past being transported into like an alternate future New York. So he was really one of the big voices, one of the people that are really responsible for bringing sort of this Japanese edge and flair, especially ninja related stuff, into like Western pop culture. To my knowledge, the first time Western audiences were really, at least in a grand sort of general way, introduced to the concept of ninjas was probably in the James Bond film You Only Live Twice from 1967. And what's interesting there is that predates some of, well, that doesn't predate because they did this, but it does not really show this kind of ninja. It shows them more as they were now. And that's what I'll talk about a lot through this, is what real ninjas are actually like, because they have almost no representation in fiction whatsoever. Like name any movie, any comic, any book, any TV series that has ninjas, they're like this. They're not like real ninjas, because ninjas were real. They did exist, and
Mhm.
it's hard. There's not too many historical accounts of them, and the problem is because of their abilities, so much of it gets mixed up in legend and folklore, which gives rise to all the stereotypes we see here. So like, but the main probably misconception is like the ninjas were some sort of like opposing force of samurai. Like you have honorable samurai who follow the Bushido code, and then you have ninja who don't have any code at all, and they'll just do whatever it takes to get the job done, and they're dirty assassins. Historically, ninja, there's not really many accounts of ninjas actually operating as assassins per se. They were more espionage agents. They were there to they would gather intel.
Assassination
They would
sometimes. Yeah.
sometimes, but that gets overplayed. There was more
Yeah.
things like infiltration. Like there's at least a few historical accounts of say a force um, needing to defeat a force that was held up in a very fortified position like a castle, and they're like, well, we can't afford doing a siege, so they might send a ninja or two in to infiltrate the castle, and what they would do is less what we see here. They're not running up walls or dressing all in black or anything. What they might do is they disguise themselves as somebody in the castle or something like that, and they'd run around and they'd maybe look for important documents, or maybe they'd find a way to open up a gate so that they could help the castle fall. That was more what the ninja thing really was. And this, of course, this whole outfit thing, all in black, covered head and toe, that actually comes from um, Edo period, like plays, where it was actually stagehands that would dress that way, and eventually it was decided that's what ninjas could look cool as. Because back in the day, they'd have stagehands who were supposed to move things around on the set, but so they wouldn't be noticed while the actors are acting. They were dressed head to toe in black with a black background. So that was their way of doing that. They did not necessarily have
Mhm.
complete set breaks. So what they do is they just have these people fully clothed that the audience are supposed to like not pay attention to blend into the background. And eventually that got caught up and was like, oh, this is a cool way for a cool look for ninja. So that's really where that comes from, and that's what's endured, whether it's this or it's Marvel Comics with the hand, or it's DC Comics with, say, the League of Assassins and its offshoot, the League of Shadows. Ninja are always a big part of these things, and I do love it. Like, I don't have any problem with that. I love this depiction of ninja, but I do like
Mhm.
pointing out some of the real stuff. This is a great book for that. This is called Ninja 1000 Years of Shadow War, A New History by John Mann. John Mann's like a historian guy with a huge interest in a historian guy. Don't I sound smart? He's a historian guy. But he was a historian who traveled extensively in Asia. He also has a book about samurai as well. This is a great book, and it really gives you the real truth about ninjas' origins. Again, their origins, we can't really pin them down for sure. There are mentions of ninja going back to, say, more the medieval period, even though ninja really started to operate around the Sengoku period, which is more of a parallel of, if you want to put in the West, although it doesn't line up perfectly like the Renaissance. That was when the Iga and Koga clans emerged, and they're the best examples you can get of real historical ninjas. And this idea that these were clans that would train people and even open schools. And ninjutsu was not a kind of martial arts. It might incorporate martial arts. It was just a sort of way of conducting warfare, but also with obviously
Mhm.
an emphasis on espionage. Again, not necessarily assassination. The idea of a ninja running around, running up walls, throwing ninja stars, probably never ever actually happened, and they certainly didn't dress that way. But it is cool and it is fun, and it's not like it was a Western invention. It was their own invention because it came from stories and myths. Because ninjas were so good at blending in, they'd say, "Oh, maybe a ninja could turn invisible." There's even things about ninjas running up walls or even running across water. It was something people at the time really did believe, because ninja were very good at that, what they did, and at one point they were highly sought out. So they were more like mercenaries, which I think is where they get the opposition. So let's show Kazuki's real son, right?
That is his real son, Kane. Kind of interesting that he'd be such a badass in 6 years, I believe that said. But,
Mm.
yeah, that his real kid, and, that actor before Arthur, Roberts, who plays Braden, who helped bring them to the US, and there's a lot with his character coming up. He is still active at 88 years old. He's still
Wow,
making movies.
very cool.
Oh.
They all just go running. Like, oh no, we'll run him over the bike. That's an interesting. That's not a good tactic.
I'm not sure how much a kick could hurt at that age, but I would
I know
imagine
from such small, short legs. Yeah.
I would imagine Kane, Cho's kid, probably had some skill even at this very young age.
I mean, they make it. I mean, it's not realistic, but they do show him like using their own momentum against them in a few places, which is obviously a smart thing to do anytime you're fighting somebody bigger or heavier than you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what like a lot of like Aikido principles are. Although it's kind of doesn't really matter when you have like a big bastard like Steven Seagal doing it. But like, really, one of the benefits of Aikido is supposed to be like if you're dealing with somebody bigger, heavier, possibly stronger than you, it's about redirecting their energy, against themselves. Is really what it is. But yeah, kid did quite well. I mean, like father, like son. It makes sense.
And Cho
Let's teach them the way of the ninja. It's the family tradition. So that's the other thing. So of course, ninja have not been around for hundreds of years. Their last true account of them in open warfare was probably in the mid 17th century. They took part in some battles in the Shimabura Rebellion, which was a rebellion of a Christian minority group that were being suppressed by the Tokugawa government. And the ninja, again, did their thing by helping take down, in the final battle, take down the castle that they had holed themselves up. And that's the last real historical account. That doesn't mean some ninja didn't exist for a few more decades after that, but then it was like less of an organized thing. You might just have, random ninja acting as random mercenaries. Again, the origins are tough to say. I mean, it probably really got going again around the Iga and Koga clan stuff. So we're talking about 15th century, but there are, of course, predecessors to that. And people can argue whether or not these were true ninja or if it was just, spies, because obviously espionage has always existed. There's an interesting one from around the 12th century about a samurai named Yasuke Takagure, and how at some point he lost his lands and title because he'd been involved in some sort of local dispute, and his side lost. So as part of the deal, which happens to a lot of samurais, he lost his land and title. Now, most samurai in that position would just commit seppuku, or they might become ronin. He chose a third option, which is that he went into the mountains and met this supposedly Chinese warrior monk, whose name here is, I had it. Doshi, named Doshi. And the idea was that they worked together to create what would become ninjutsu, this idea of sort of a covert guerrilla tactics style of fighting. And something interesting about that is this is one of the best games of all time. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's Ghost of Tsushima. And Ghost of Tsushima takes place in the 12th century, or maybe 13th century. I think it's 13th century, which is, it's a fictionalized account of the real world failed invasion of the Mongols of Tsushima. And it follows on one rogue samurai, a young man who's separated from his forces, and to just basically survive and to against, because he's caught behind enemy lines, more or less, right? Is what happens. He's in areas that are completely taken over and controlled by the Mongols. He begins having to reject the Bushido code and fight in a less honorable way, doing basically what is guerrilla tactics. And the sequel eventually makes reference to him as a few hundred years later, and they refer to him as the first shinobi, kind of the shinobi being another name for ninja. So kind of the idea was like, it's just fiction. It's just made up, but it's an interesting idea, right? Like this guy, he was the one who sort of gave rise to the tradition that will become ninjutsu. And it's a really great story. It's one of the most cinematic games you can ever play. It's wonderful. I recommend it to anybody. But it's really deep, and there's a lot of moments where he's like and of course he has an uncle, and the big thing going on there is his uncle eventually finds out he's alive, but he super disapproves of his tactics because it's not the way samurai are supposed to behave, and eventually he has to just forsake the Bushido code. So there's interesting stuff like that. I like in that historical account I read that it might have something to do with originating in China, because again, this is a super fictional one, but actually in the world of Mortal Kombat, if you know the character Sub-Zero is from a ninja clan called the Lin Kuei, which originated in China. Their idea was like ninjutsu was something that actually originated in China and then came over in Japan. That's just all made up, but it is kind of fun, and I've always liked it. So again, you can find even earlier accounts, but they probably weren't what you would call true ninja or shinobi. It was just people, using some tactics. It was really around the time of the Iga and Goga clans that they turned it into like a whole school and a whole tradition, and using that term. So again, speaking about like separating fact from fiction, yeah, I'd say at least by the 18th century there were probably no more active ninja. And one of my favorite lies, of course, is speaking of canon films. Canon, of course, they did Bloodsport, right, which is another movie we're considering doing on here. And Bloodsport is Frank Dukes' story. And Frank Dukes is a big time liar. And one of his big lies is that he learned jujitsu from some mysterious old man who was like the last descendant of some ninja clan. Not Kiga Oga, something else. Iga Koga. But that was his thing. Like, he learned legit ninjutsu. He's the only Westerner to ever learn real ninjutsu. And he learned it from this man who was the last survivor. What's very interesting is that, like, apparently this man's name was Suzo Tiger Tanaka, which is, wow, that's the same name as the ninja commander from You Only Live Twice. And when people pointed that out to him, he's like, well, yeah, because they based it on him because he's a real guy. And anyway, we don't have time to get into Frank Dukes and his world of lies. But that's my favorite lie, because for decades he's like said he's basically a ninja and that he teaches a form of ninjutsu. I'm not saying Frank Dukes wasn't a good martial artist. He was, but he's a big time liar who made up everything, including the fucking Kumite, which is fine. I like the story. I like the movie Bloodsport. But I mean, he's just always held on to it. And just like Steven Seagal has said, like, he worked for the CIA, which is absolutely not true.
Seagal's got some whoppers of lies, but yeah. The blonde actress Ashley Farrar, she was actually a model in Salt Lake City, and she came to be cast because she did a guest spot on a TV show called The Master, which show Kasugi co-starred with the legendary Lee Van Cleef. It was about an aging American ninja who it was a short-lived action series kind of trying to capitalize on kung fu, and that's where she kind of came from. Did not have a big career. She only did a few other things. Cyclone, the Fred Olin Ray movie, was the only other major role she had. But for a non-martial artist, I thought she did actually okay in this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, speaking of weird actors attached to it, I love the first one. It's that Italian guy, right?
Yes. His name was Mario Gallo. He was in like Raging Bull. He died a year after this. This was his last movie.
I see.
Unfortunately, yeah, he didn't. He did not make any other films after that.
And of course, I meant also Franco Nero. Like, the idea that Franco Nero is some kind of ninja is pretty funny.
Yeah, actually in the documentary they talk about casting him, but like I said, I mean, they're not Hong Kong movies. I mean, they were doing their own crazy little take on it. Kane Kasugi is actually still quite active. He's done a lot, still doing ninja movies. In fact, Ninja Wars Black Fox versus Shogun's Ninja was his most recent one, and he's had quite a career. He's been in a lot of different stuff. Sho Kasugi did make a brief comeback to make a movie called Ninja Assassin.
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, in 2009, that got a theatrical actually, and it's
considered one of the better ninja movies of the last while. Yeah, gonna say, do you have a favorite movie featuring ninjas?
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, I do have a soft spot in my heart for a lot of this canon stuff because I saw it early. Yeah, I'd have to really think about a favorite. That's a tough one because there's so many. I do recommend, his name comes up a lot when it comes to modern action stars, but the two ninja movies that Scott Adkins did are pretty solid for lower budget movies.
They're not bad.
Yeah. I always feel bad. He's like that one guy, one of a handful of guys, like, it would have been nice if he had been born a little bit earlier and he could have been around during this period. He could have
Yeah.
easily been a big star for a canon, if nothing else.
Mhm.
This actor has a very strong Joe Pesci vibe about him.
Yeah.
And look.
I'm starting to, like, I haven't seen this in so long. I'm starting to remember some stuff now. Even I haven't been paying super attention, but yeah, I can't remember how many years it's been, but yeah, it starts so yeah, some of the stuff's starting to come back. I think my favorite movie with ninjas is actually a Chinese movie. It's Five Elements Ninjas, just because
Oh,
I enjoyed the
that's a
different sort of
banger.
techniques, and it's really is like all the ninja stereotypes, like put up to 11, like because they're doing all the semi supernatural things ninja were alleged to have been able to do. And plus, it just keeps the simple thing. It's like the simple, good Chinese warriors versus the evil Japanese ninja force. The good black and white there. I say black and white, but they're all very. And of course, I like the colors. Like, there's 5 elements ninjas, and each group of ninja had their own color that they'd wear, which was something I was kind of obsessed with as a kid. I remember it was something when we would play as ninjas. And again, it might be an extension of something like Ninja Turtles, where each guy had his own color, because I hadn't, of course, seen that movie as a kid at all. I was much older when I saw it, but we had this all idea too of like ninja in various different colors, and that would conform to like sort of the abilities that they would have. I
Mm-hmm.
remember, I remember that being sort of a thing. But yeah. And speaking of favorites, like, I know that last episode you had asked me some questions that I sort of trailed off on because I couldn't really give full full answers for, because you had asked me like if I had a favorite Jackie Chan movie. I was like, oh, yeah. So I'll just say probably like it goes all over the place, but maybe just Police Story, which is maybe an obvious one, but I mean I really do love it. And you had asked me like if I thought there was anybody else from that era that could have crossed over the way Jackie did.
Mm-hmm.
I guess not, because it didn't happen, but there were definitely people that like I think were good enough. It. Like, I don't know. It also depended upon what they wanted to do. Like, I think about like Alexander Fusheng, who died so young. So you think there was maybe so meaning that by the time things were changing, he was still very young in the game. He was younger than a lot of the Shaw Studios contemporaries. So it feels like if he was going to change, like he could have done it. He would have been young enough to adapt to new things. Because like speaking of like that stable of actors, like the much older Tai Lung, he managed to extend his career by changing. Like, it's really, he went from the martial arts hero guy in all those movies to a modern day gangster in A Better Tomorrow. That's really what extended his career. It was a different sort of, and of course that's not necessarily an international thing, but it is an example of an actor sort of changing his image a little to extend his career. So I wonder about Alexander Fusheng, because he was young
He,
and would have still
yeah,
had plenty more to give as the industry changed. So you think, like, could he have even gotten involved with a Jackie Chan and been part of those movies? Hadn't he? He died in 1984, making the movie 8 Diagram Pole Fighter. So you think, like, as Shaw
that is a
Studios,
favorite. I love that movie.
yeah, I own that. It's great. But
I
so
was gonna
yeah,
mention
as Shaw
Shogun.
Studios was like not ending, but they were ending their movie production. So like, would
Mhm.
he have like gone to Golden Harvest and joined Jackie and be part of that? So he's a guy I wonder about. Um, yeah, I feel bad that a lot of the women didn't really have the international appeal you'd expect them to, but I don't know,
As
because
far
I
as
love.
ninja movies, though, I do got to throw out Shogun Assassin for sure.
That's certainly a very bloody one.
That is a bloody one, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That might be one of the most influential, I would say.
Yeah.
I think anybody that was like making ninja movies after that would probably have to say that, they took some. Oh, look at this right on the street.
Oh. No.
Slow fall into the fountain. I love how they'll have people fall into things like fountains to make it more dramatic. But I mean, is it really? He's dead. Either he falls down straight on the pavement or he falls in the water. He's dead either way. But movies just like to do that. Just like how they don't understand how physics work with guns. Like, I'm no expert on guns, but if you're standing near a window and you get blasted with a gun, that doesn't cause you to fly through the window. You would just slump down. It would break the window if the bullet went through you, but you would just slump down. You would not get blasted out the window. But I get it. Movie physics are fun.
Poor homeless guy only got $10 to be a snitch, and now he's dead.
I miss the breaks.
Somebody's having fun here. I think the lowest point for ninjas probably RoboCop 3. We'd imagine.
There's the
Ninjas
old
on.
gratuitous nudity that's was so common in the day. But yeah, what's funny is Frank Miller wrote the script for that. So it was Frank Miller once again dipping into the ninja thing, but didn't work out so well that time. Sorry to say.
No.
And I know the finished movie was not really what he had wanted or envisioned. It was another one of those movies that went through a ton of changes, and I don't even know if Frank Miller's name is on it. He might have had his name taken off it, because I think eventually they did make a comic called like Frank Miller's RoboCop. To just he didn't draw it or anything, but it was just
watching this scene. I almost feel like it might have been a little more amusing if she just drowned because he fell on top of her. There's something.
I would have enjoyed that. Like she's just scrambling and he can't get his body off her.
Yeah.
She drowns very easy too. He just like gives her a nudge, just like I'll stay under and drown. I mean, the best thing to do in that is pretend you drowned, right? So that you don't get shot. But no, they're both dead. But I mean, I guess is this supposed to be set in like Utah? You can see the mountains.
No, it's supposed to still be LA, I believe. At the beginning, I believe they still said LA.
Oh, okay.
Looks nothing like Los Angeles. I've been to both cities. I've spent a lot of time.
It's much too wide, much too wide open to be LA. Even I know that.
Not sure what did this actor in particular. I mean, he seems very committed here.
Oh, that's nice. They put them together. Like they have them like facing each other. Hello, Parallax.
Hey, JG, what's up?
But I have to say, like, given everything I said about like enjoying the portrayal of the ninjas, I would like to see like one movie with realistic ninjas. Like I've tried, there just aren't any. Like they just don't do it that way. There's movies with fairly realistic samurai, but they just don't want to do it with ninja for whatever reason.
I
like,
think
hell,
when you're
make a historical movie about like the Iga and Koga clans, I think that would be amazing. Like the closest thing I've seen to realistic ninjas in all things is in like anime, which is kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, it's something I guess in a pitch meeting. It just just give us the ninjas we're used to on the big and small screen.
Yeah. And I love it. And I love the idea of a world that still has ninja and aren't and haven't died out. But the truth is there are living descendants of the ninja, but just like there's living descendants of samurai, but the classes do not exist anymore.
And Sho did he was an accomplished martial artist. I believe he was the All Japan karate champion, if I'm not mistaken. He's got some credits, I believe, still involved in martial arts. He's pushing 80, but I do believe he still has his studio, if I'm not mistaken, his dojo.
Yeah, I feel like he's another guy that like was sort of mistreated by the industry. Really, I mean, he's one of the biggest reasons for the boom of popularity of ninjas in the 80s, and I don't know if he really got the credit he deserved for that.
Yeah, I don't know that he did either. There's a lot of like spectacularly bad ninja movies that were coming out around this time. A lot
That's
of
another thing. Like if you have ninja in the title, usually actually meant probably pretty bad, right? You really have to get in there and pick and choose to separate the quality.
Yeah, there's entire box sets dedicated to the bad ones.
Like, why was he only in like Black Eagle, which is like one of like the most obscure Jean-Claude Van Damme movies?
Mm. Of course, he's dubbed in this movie, but I think he's got a good presence.
Oh yeah, he's. I mean, he is the best part of the movie for sure. But yeah, I mean, I just love the idea of like rival ninja clans still existing in the '80s. It's pretty fun.
And of
It does
course,
sort of tie into like the stuff like the Hand does
mm-hmm.
to a certain extent. Like the Hand, their whole deal, besides all their ancient tradition stuff, is like they do integrate themselves into the modern world by like infiltrating like levels of government and organized crime and stuff like that. So this reminds you a little bit of that. I have to say, like I was at the many things that blew me away about the Netflix Daredevil show. I mean, there were many, but it was also just how well they handled the Hand. The Hand features prominently in the second season, and then again in the Defenders show, and it's done extremely well, like more than I ever would expect it. I was sort of disappointed with the way they wound up using the Hand in the recent Spider-Man movie because to me it didn't make any sense, but at least they were there, I guess.
JG
You know,
mentions Godfrey Ho. That is certainly one of the names responsible for a lot of particularly bad ninja movies. And Blind Fury is a good recommendation. That's a great.
Godfrey Ho practically owned the name word ninja. You think he's like copyrighted and he used it so much. It's just like ninja this, ninja that, ninja.
Blind Fury, I do recommend. That's always been a childhood favorite with Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, I love Rutger Hauer despite the fact that he's in some horrific movies. But I
He
mean,
tended to pop up in something interesting every once in a while. To
he's a
kind of,
fantastic actor, which is really
yeah.
the thing. That's what pains me. It pains me that somebody that good is in some such terrible movies. But I mean, that happens. I mean, even like Morgan Freeman's in some terrible movies, you know. So
It's the body of work. I mean, Flesh and Blood, Lady Hawk. I mean, I'm a huge Blade Runner fan, and he's the most.
Blade Runner is one of my favorite movies of all time, and he's one of my favorite characters. And by the way, that's the best death scene in cinema. If there's a better one, please tell me. Is there a better death scene than Reyes? I think that's the best death scene in all of cinema.
Oh,
period.
I mean, he basically had him dead to rights too, which was interesting at the time because you don't see that too often, especially with one of the biggest movie stars of all time, like Harrison Ford.
And it's one of the very few examples where like the movie's better than the book it's based on. Like I like Andrew's Dream of Electric Sheep, but everything about Blade Runner is better. The changes they make are all awesome. It's great.
What do you think of the upcoming? I guess it's technically a mini series that with Hunter Schafer that's coming out.
I guess I'm open to it because I mean there was other stuff that I was worried about that turned out really well. So
now this actor, I'm sure will look familiar to horror fans, or maybe not in this case, but his character here is just credited as Chief, but he's a stuntman.
Don Shanks.
Don Shanks, and he was Michael Myers in Halloween 5. He was also the fisherman in the really bad I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. He was also in another ninja movie, Three Ninjas Knuckle Up.
I've seen all. I was eventually going to talk about the Three Ninjas movies because they're awful, but they are a part of my childhood. As I was saying, like, yeah,
if you're a 90s,
so I was the exact target age for like stuff like that. Like, I can still remember the night like we rented that and watching it at Ryan's house for a sleepover, and eating pizza and drinking pop, and then like watching the movie. And even we knew it was kind of shitty, but we still enjoyed it. And we'd like ninja attack each other because of night and stuff like that.
That large gentleman we've talked about before, Professor Toru Tanaka, who's watching the lady, keeping guard right now. He doesn't do a whole lot actually in this movie, but
I forgot about him.
Yeah, it's not it's kind of disappointing in a way. You would have liked to have seen a big show fight scene with them.
Yeah, this is a short movie. They keep it pretty tight.
Some actually the the final fight scene, which is very long, they had 2 weeks to film that. And that's the thing with a lot of action movies. It's just there's no time anymore. It's not even just a budget thing. They did sometimes give you a little more time to get the fight choreography and everything right.
Maybe it was just Benny. I thought there were 3 of them. I thought it was Benny Urquidez, Keith Vitale, and another guy. But maybe it was just Benny and Keith. That I'm seeing. I'm just looking at Wheels on Meals here. For some reason, I guess I'm misremembering. Because I thought Benny was separate from those 2, but I guess not. Oh, look at
this. Very cool.
Yeah, I think that would KO you.
I kind of feel like
he just shrugs it off. He's like, no big deal. He just jumped like 2 stories and smashed wood over my head. I'm fine.
I think it might have been more effective to just throw that and not.
Speaking of stereotypes, we got like a Native American with like a vest on with a big knife. Okay.
Who's just credited as chief.
Because that's like literally what every Native American guy who hung out with white people was called. That's like if you look at like any like indigenous Canadian that like played in the NHL, like in the original 6 era, like most famously George Armstrong, who was the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs for many years. But I mean, even that's like they always called him chief. And again, it wasn't considered racist back then. They were trying to be nice. But yeah, I would just say, word to the wise, that if you have like indigenous or Native American friends or acquaintances, don't call them chief. That's not cool.
Yeah.
I do like the car running on cars thing and jumping. That's very Jackie.
Yeah,
it's nice to see this, and in a non-Hong Kong movie, it's got some good stunt work here.
Yeah, even some of the lesser canon movies have aged quite well. I mean, just the action, just old school stuntman falling off a building, getting blown through the air by an explosion.
He even has like moccasins on, for God's sakes. He's not even wearing normal shoes. Oh, see, that's always a great move. I love it when guys do that. They kick their way in through the windshield and start beating on. I've seen that in lots of movies, but I always enjoy it. Saw something we did that recently. I can't remember what.
I think they definitely got a lot more production value out of shooting in Salt Lake, which looks nothing like LA. I'd have to go back to the beginning, but I believe they said we're supposed to be in LA. Not a good job of at no frame does it look like Los Angeles, but
the mountains, and it's just way too wide open.
Salt Lake City is beautiful, but yeah.
I can't believe these guys are still good to go. He's been kicking the shit out of them for like 2 minutes straight. Now he's got tomahawks. Come on, man. I feel like the makers of Street Fighter watched this and they just made like what's his name off this guy, the Native American character.
We've actually at last tournament on the left too, our event coming up, there will be a tomahawk used as a weapon in one of the matches. Tomahawk with glass glued onto it, so it's an effective weapon. That's the end of Don Shanks. Show another one. They never really went too deep into some.
Yeah, it's just T-Hawk. Yeah, T-Hawk. That's his name. Sorry.
They gave him a name? Okay, IMDb just has him as.
No. I mean the Street Fighter character.
Okay.
When they made Super Street Fighter 2, they introduced 4 new characters. There was Cammy, Fei Long, who was basically just a Bruce Lee ripoff, DJ, who was like the Jamaican boxer guy, and the large Native American brawler T-Hawk. Yeah.
It's always interesting when you see some of these action scenes because skin's going to start coming off of you very quickly being dragged like that.
Oh God, yes. Oof. That's some pain.
Oh,
But I've actually missed. I have not paid enough attention to see Braden or Baden or whatever his name is, our main villain. I have not actually paid attention when he's been on screen. So
so
you give him credit. He's a pretty damn beat up.
the whole smuggling of the heroin in the dolls, not the best move. Here,
very intimidating in that robe.
I was gonna say there's a very just we need you to play a horny bastard that is not around for very long in this one.
Oh, I forgot what her. So we got here ninja infiltration.
I think
But, they always point out like dressing like this, like running around in broad daylight on rooftops, which just is not very smart. Right? That's what I always said. Like ninjas would rarely wear black because black actually shows up way too much. But no, ninja did not necessarily have the special outfit. Normally, what they would do is try to get clothes to blend in with the enemy of whatever place they're infiltrating. Is really the main thing they would do. But yeah, so this really comes from those stagehands called Kuroko. And then in the Edo period, you'll start to see art that incorporates that and blend it, and that's where you get the popular version of ninjas. So I mean, it's not like a Western thing. It did originate in Japan itself. But
Grandma's ready for him.
But one thing about having full ninja bodysuits is good because, like we said, like the villain actually, the actor can't do martial arts, but you can double him easily because he's just always played by somebody completely covered. So it makes that easy. Oh, she's game.
No.
Maybe don't throw another one. This is a little just showcase of some ninja weapons. Ooh, disappears with the smoke bomb. She's out ninjaing the ninja.
There's a little cane there.
Why is he on the roof?
No. She had a good run there with them.
Yeah, she acquitted herself well. I feel like I've seen that a lot too with those sorts of doors in those Japanese style homes and buildings.
This movie actually was a pretty big, reasonably big hit. And wow, do they go different directions with Ninja 3, which some point I'm sure we'll do. That is one of the most unusual, if not the most unusual, air quotes ninja movie.
It is, but the ninja have always been tied into like supernatural stuff, so it's not as far off as some people might think. It is still a very odd movie, and definitely odd within the context of this sort of. Oh,
no.
It is sort of jarring to see the guy take it off and just be like some white guy with curly-esque hair. So it's like, that's right, I'm a master ninja like Frank Dukes.
Oh, nearly got him with the Shuriken. Shuriken, I believe, is how you pronounce it, or at least that's how I always have.
Shuriken. Not sure. I've heard it both.
We it's a project that didn't happen, but we got to interact with Menahem a little bit for something recently, and that was interesting. Would have liked to have actually met him in person to just kind of talk about a lot of these different canon movies.
Are you referencing the Jet Li film Acres? My Father is a Hero? Because yes, I've seen it, and yes, I did see the Furious and liked it very much. It's got some really great sequences. Very impressed.
What's up, Stacy? Yes, that's a good Jet Li movie. If you're talking about our wrestling event at Flesh Wound, it is October 3rd at Hawaiian Gardens, California. It's last tournament on the left too, and you can get your tickets at fleshwoundfeatures.com. We should be announcing some of the match stipulations shortly, so it's gonna be interesting, and we might be announcing a former WWE superstar very soon.
Exciting stuff. I have to say, like, I feel bad about Jet Li because I don't feel like I talk about him enough. Because, like, if I'm talking about my favorites, like, he's behind Jackie, he's behind Samo, he's behind Donnie Yen. And that makes it sound like he's, like, way down. But, I mean, no, he's just, I mean, I love him. Like, Jet Li was incredible. And he was.
Those are all Titans, though, if you got to be below somebody.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, that's just in my own opinion. It's not like he's below. You know what I mean? So I just feel bad, like, really the first movie I did to like get into this sort of thing is like 4 or 5 years ago with Jay and Ork, because I really wanted to talk about it. I did my favorite Jet Li film, which is Fist of Legend. And that's really the first time you can see me doing a commentary where I'm not just reacting in real time, but where I'm actually trying to talk about, you know, stuff about the movie and stuff. So that's still one of my most fun things. So, I mean, I'm not trying to neglect Jet Li because he was an incredible talent. He was another guy that was sort of hurt a little bit by timing, although it did eventually pan out for him. And that he was around throughout most of the 80s, but he was just not getting good projects. He the early 90s, and obviously the first Once Upon a Time in China that really turned things around for him. So you get to see her topless too.
Toru here, not following orders. The boss.
That'd be a fun scene to do. It's like, all right, you can't keep it in your pants. You're gone.
Jet Li, though, also had that benefit of he did become a big star in America. Donnie Yen never. I'm not that he needed to, but you know, his excursions for a while there. I mean, Highlander Endgame, which I have a soft spot for, but it didn't exactly blow him up like we all probably hoped it would.
I mean, like in the late 90s, he got to direct a few of his own movies, and Donnie Yen's great, but they just didn't happen to be particularly good movies. So yeah, again, it's sort of delayed things for him. But yeah, Jet Li, timing wise, is interesting because he is a bit younger, but he was like a prodigy, right? He was a wushu champion. He was competing against people 4 or 5 years older than him and winning every time. He was just incredible. And he was an interesting contrast to Jackie because Jackie was more rough and tumble and Jet Li was all grace and style. And it does make a great contrast. But yeah, for a while, he wasn't in the project. He does have some movies in the 80s I think are at least worth watching. Have you seen Born to Defense?
Yeah.
I like that movie. Like, I get why it's not like a big hit or considered some classic or anything, and it's not the best showcase of his skills, but it is certainly a watchable movie that I've enjoyed. You know,
he's had some health stuff recently, has he? Not.
Yeah, I think he's better now. He spent years very sick. I think he's doing better now. I'm not sure. You know, one of his last films, he did this something ocean something. You know, it was a complete straight drama showing some of his acting range. So yeah, I feel like I have to give some props to Jet Li because he was amazing and he does have a good body of work. I just personally rank him below some of these other guys, but that does not mean I don't think super highly of him or anything like that. But if you go back far enough, you can see me do Fist of Legend, which is just one of my favorite movies.
Fist of Legend's fantastic.
Of course, the remake of my favorite Bruce Lee film, Fist of Fury. I mean, eventually I'll just do Enter the Dragon on here. For a while, I was thinking, did I already do it? But I didn't. So
it's kind of a staple of movies of this era. The multiracial gang, which is never been something that happens in real life.
No, I understand why they did it though, because in the 70s, like anybody who was a black or Hispanic in a movie had to be like a criminal gang member. And they were just like, okay, we pushed this too far. So in the 80s, they're like, okay, we gotta mix some white guys and stuff into the gang,
Yeah.
so we don't look so we don't just look like we're like always demonizing minorities. Like, holy shit, if you want to see like minorities demonized, just watch like the Death Wish series, right? It's just our heroic what's his name?
Charles Bronson.
Charles Bronson going around blasting like blacks and Hispanics. Like that's all it is. I assume like super like right wing like racist people must love those movies.
I mean, I love the Death Wish movies, but yeah, certainly they were towards the end. I believe they did kind of start to fall under that whole like, okay, let's try and not make all the villains.
Death Wish 5 is canon, isn't it?
Yes, that is like, I mean,
it was in development hell for a long time. Like that movie took years to actually get done. I love this. I like this. I like this environment. You know, this is cool fighting like a playground place.
Yeah, actually, they do have great settings for the fights, and not sure if we missed it here, but I love the scene where he like takes off half the guy's mustache.
Because this actually predates Police Story. You know, Jackie has a little playground fight of his own in Police Story. Somewhat similar to this. I mean, it's not as big and elaborate, but
I always, I mean, obviously budget's always a concern, but I always thought Cannon might have tried to make a Hail Mary play, get some of their regulars, maybe Chuck, Bronson, and all in like one big action movie kind of deal, but there was a lot of ego back then because, like, I mean, well, okay, but who gets killed in this?
Yeah.
I don't want Chuck to kill me.
Somebody's got to die.
Dudikoff, which always enjoyed Michael Dudikoff. Dudikoff is the one that I did have the pleasure of meeting. I never got to meet Chuck or Bronson before they died, sadly. Nope.
I like the camera angle there. And the final indignity of losing the fight by going down a children's slide. So is that Keith Vitale? I've lost track of him too. Where's Keith Vitale? I can't remember his character. Can't even remember his fucking character's name.
Oh. Yeah, there's the mustache gag. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, Keith Vitale's Dave Hatcher. Is he the guy in gray?
Trying to get a good look. I don't think so.
Oh. Well, someone else is fighting on his team. I thought it must be him.
Oh,
guns are in play. Throwing star beats gun. Yeah, the guy in gray says police. Is that Keith Vitale, isn't it?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. He was throwing some good kicks. I figured it has to be him. Keith was a very strong kicker. He was a pretty big deal in his time. You know, he was on the cover of Black Belt magazine, called the best karate fighter in the world for a while. It's hard to really say for sure how legit some of that was, but he was certainly a very good martial artist.
It was, I mean, back then it was very easy to kind of lie. And
yep. Looking at you again, Frank.
There was
like
somebody...
his 315-0 record or whatever. And there was world records.
I don't remember the guy's name or anything, but he was teaching Kenpo, and he had a bunch of stuff came out about him that, like, I mean, he lied about everything. I mean, he was a very, I mean, not novice, I guess, but all these places he claimed to travel and train, like he just made it all up. But it took a few years for people to catch on. I was very surprised.
Kicks her in the stomach. Holy shit. The movie plays with your expectations for sure.
You don't normally get to see a little kid fight a woman like this.
I can't really think of any other movie that has a fight between a little boy and a woman. Honestly, at least not like a fight where they're like both like throwing out martial arts moves.
They're in the wrestling world, particularly Mexico, Lucha Libre. There are some very young kids that will start training.
Pretty
It
good.
always scares the shit out of me seeing it because, I mean, yeah, you mess
like,
up, you land on your neck, you know.
Yeah, it's like, what kind of training do they have? How safe is it really for a kid? Because, yeah, I mean, there's certain things, even in like normal martial arts, that like you really have to wait till you're an adult to do if you're going to do them, period. Because you don't want to risk certain injuries to a kid whose body is still growing. Now, like one thing I did, this was not, I want to stress this had nothing to do with my school. They did not teach it. They didn't even tell me about it, but I'm sure people who are familiar with Muay Thai know that if you choose to, there are techniques you can do to so-called harden your shins. It's not really about hardening your shins. What you're really actually doing is deadening the nerves in your shins. That's how you can like kick really hard, like through bamboo and stuff like that. Now, I chose to do this myself. It was never even mentioned in my thing. I just found out about it. So what's funny is like to this day, like I could like walk across a room and like bang my shin on a chair and I might react like any normal person, be like, ah, shit, ow. But I might hit it in such a way that I don't feel it at all because it really did work. But anyway, they don't recommend that to anybody, but you're definitely not supposed to do it if you're under 16 because your bones are still growing and stuff. So if you start doing that kind of stuff, you'll like mess yourself up. But that was just something I wanted to do. One of the things you can do is you can take a rolling pin and roll it on your things. That's one of the easier things you can do. But I mean, yeah, I used to kick the heavy bag until like my legs were just red as hell and my knees and stuff. I just slammed the heavy bag. I probably put way too much into it, but I was just like, I don't have one at home, so I got to give everything I got here. That was kind of my mentality. It was like, yeah, because there's two things I wish I had at home that would help me train. One is I wish I had a heavy bag to hit. The other is I just wish I had a bar to do pull-ups on. Like, I feel like I could get some decent exercise done in my own home if I had those things, but my apartment's not really set up for either.
I have decent space down here, but unfortunately it's occupied by movies and books, so
I'm just not good at practicing kicks in particular without impact. Like, just, you know, because I mean, yeah, obviously you can just do a kick and not hit anything, but I really need the follow through to know what I'm doing. He's like putting size and weapons in like a briefcase. It's like, here's your ninja starter kit. He's putting all these traditional ninja weapons in his briefcase. Yeah, I'm going on a ninja business trip.
It's kind of surprising that this actress didn't do more. Ashley Farrar, who plays Kathy. Because, I mean, again, I don't think she was like a martial artist or anything, but she had some presence. Like, I could have seen Canon. You know, they like to make their own people. It's like, all right, you'll be our Cynthia Rothrock. We'll just try and do.
Well, I mean, Canon was helpful for a lot of people's careers. I don't know how helpful it was for too many women.
Not many, no. Well, I mean,
women in Canon films did not get good roles, and it did not really launch them into anything better.
There is that infamous story where Menahem had told, like, I want the stone woman for the King Solomon's Mines, and he meant Kathleen Turner romancing the stone, and they got
Sharon Stone. They got Sharon Stone. That's funny.
Who was apparently pretty difficult at that time. So I love those movies though. King Solomon's Mines and Alan Quartermain. I grew up on those. I probably watched those more than the Indiana Jones films.
Yeah. Well, I watched Romancing the Stone. I can never really like Romancing the Stone because I don't like either lead. I don't like
Michael Douglas.
I don't like Michael Douglas or her. I think I would like Romancing the Stone with different leads. I don't particularly like either of them. People who watch my channel have heard me rant about this before, and I realize it's stupid, but I never got that for some reason in like the mid to late 80s to early 90s, Michael Douglas was like the guy for like sexy thrillers. I was like, I get that he's not terrible looking, but are you telling me this is the guy? Like, I could like he's just in every like sexy thriller imaginable,
If
and
you
he just
watch,
always rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, what is his appeal?
if you
Never
watch
got his
some of
appeal.
the erotic thriller boom of the late '80s, early '90s, there
Well, these
sometimes
are
it's
the
just
bigger, more
good.
mainstream ones, right? You know, like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
thing,
they have more choice, but you did have some
like a
random
basic
actors.
instinct or disclosure or whatever,
Hmm.
which he's in both. Yes, he's a ninja. Yeah, there's Keith Vitale. And he says, impossible. He's American. How can he be a ninja? Very true. American ninja hasn't been made yet. He trained Koga-ryo style ninjutsu. See, those are real terms. Like, that's not just bullshit, but. So they're at least pointing out the fact that it is absurd that this, like, in the 20th century, there's, like, an American man that has ninjutsu training. Like, even the movie points out that that's absolutely absurd. Only a ninja can stop a ninja. I hope that's the tagline, man.
It's actually a shame that Dudikoff didn't get to make one more. I know he really wanted to. He lives in the Philippines now, actually, if you follow
Yeah.
him
I mean, it
online.
makes sense. He spent a lot of time there. That's where he shot American Ninja and some other things. So, you know,
Yeah.
he spent a lot of time there. Probably got to like it. Watched a lot of stuff in the Philippines lately. I watched Platoon for the first time in over 20 years the other night.
Oh, okay.
Which is, of course, mostly shot in the Philippines. Much like
It was the Roger Corman go-to.
Apocalypse Now beforehand.
Sirio Santiago was Corman's point man in the Philippines. They made a lot of Mad Max knockoffs and various different things. Very unique way to kill somebody. It seems a little more elaborate than you had to.
Yeah, maybe. I'm indifferent to Platoon, by the way. You know, sometimes I've mentioned there are directors who I just don't like at all. Like, I like nothing they've done. Oliver Stone's very close in that, like, I don't like any of his movies except I think Platoon's okay.
You don't like Natural Born Killers?
I hate Natural Born Killers. I despise Natural Born Killers. That's the main reason I don't like him. I don't like his other movies either, but I despise that movie. I think it's just a bunch of trash thrown together. And then people are like, well, that's kind of the point, blah, 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 of the media. Like, I get it. Yes, I know what the movie's trying to do. It's not going to make me like it anymore. No, I hate that movie. And I hated its impact on pop culture at the time. It drives me nuts. But, I mean, I would like to see he did, what was it, Salvador? I've never seen that. I'd like to see Salvador.
Oh, yeah, James Woods, yeah.
That sounds like I would like it. But besides that, like, no, I can't stand his body of work at all. Platoon, I think, is fine. It's just a super predictable movie. Like, once like the first 20 minutes are out of the way and it sort of establishes what's going on, you know every single thing that's going to happen in that movie. So I just found that a little blah. But no, Oliver Stone has a very dry style that I just can't get behind. He's also he feels very like kind of nihilistic to me, like, which is fine. I get it. He doesn't like people. That's okay. Like, I get not liking people, but I don't know. Like, I hate Wall Street. I hate it. JFK is one of the most boring things ever put to screen. The Doors is one of the most boring things ever put to screen. Alexander is a goddamn disaster. W is just a bunch of lies. Savages is one of the laziest pieces of shit I've ever seen. Like, I have very few things to say nice about Stone. But I will say, having just recently watched Platoon, like, I'm okay with Platoon. Like, I think it's super overrated, but it is a pretty good movie.
He's been focusing on documentaries lately. In fact, he was making the podcast rounds last year, promoting a lot of different things.
No, I don't think he has any of that optimism. Like, Oliver, if I'm going to think about like boomer sentiments, I'll think of like Forrest Gump, not Oliver Stone.
Now this whole final act here, this was like about a 2-week shoot, and I think it paid off.
But anyway, I was going to say, I was just thinking about like shooting in the Philippines for Platoon at the time. Like, it was sort of an odd. I don't know. I just wonder if that was really difficult or not.
I'm sure in a lot of ways although a lot of people that have shot down there have great things to say about the locals. I mean, some of the
Oh yeah, I don't
stuntmen,
necessarily mean the locals. I just mean like this was like Marcos, Philippines.
some of the stuntmen there are just insane. Like there is no safety is just a suggestion. Probably better now than it was, but
from like the mid 60s till about 86, 87, like Marcos had like a death grip on that country. Like he's not, you don't hear about him in the same breath as some of the other like dictators of his era, but he was bad if you look into it. So I just wonder. But I get it. If you're just some American film crew coming in to boost the economy, you're probably not going to have a bunch of problems with government officials necessarily. Just like I always think about, like when they were shooting early stuff, like not even footage, not even like film footage, but just footage. Like that's what George Lucas was doing when he was trying to get Star Wars movies. He was down in Philippines, like as a favor to Francis Ford Coppola, shooting stuff for Apocalypse Now. Yeah, this whole stuff, this is really good. This infiltration and everything. I think this is why I picked this over the first one. I think this whole denouement is really good. The whole final showdown stuff, it's really well executed. Caltrops. Hey, you person dressed all in black in some sort of eye mask.
Oh. Ouch.
Yeah, we were talking about Kane Kasugi earlier on.
Yeah,
it's still very active.
It's in some not so great Tekken movies. But Kane's still very active. I mean, again, even him, there's legacy there, but
I mean, he'd only be about like 50.
Yeah, well, tomorrow I'm going to see Mutiny with Jason Statham, and
I just saw a preview for that.
Yeah, I think you have access to it. It's out there now.
Oh yeah, it's out. No, I don't know. I just haven't been paying much attention lately. But I was watching some of the Blue Jays baseball game, and there was a commercial for it. I was like, I hadn't heard of that.
But I think he's very
not a fan of Statham, but he's okay.
He's almost 60 though. That's the thing. Like their age now. I mean, the action stars are all old. They don't get a lot of young ones. I mean, even Scott Adkins, I think, is getting up there. I mean, still relatively young, but
yeah. I always say who's going to fill the void. I don't know.
Oh. Fright, yeah, that'd be fun. JG, be down for that at some point. We're getting ready to do we're doing a rock and roll horror movie tournament, so that's what I'm getting ready to dive into.
I've probably only seen like 2 movies that would qualify as rock and roll horror.
Yeah, there's more than you would think.
Oh, I know there's quite a few.
Yeah, there's. We started naming them. I was like,
it's not a rock and roll one, but one that I finally saw that I hadn't seen and and wanted to see for so many years that I was disappointed in. What is it? It has a weird. It's a 70s British one about the biker gang.
God, I'm trying to think.
It's not rock and roll. It's almost more hippie in a way.
Oh, are you thinking Psychomania? Or...
Yeah, Psychomania. Like for years, I really wanted to see the movie. I finally saw it like about a year ago, and I was just sort of like really underwhelmed. They don't really show it. It has no content, right? Like there's killing and violence, but they don't show anything. So it's very clean. Like it reads like it would be super dark and violent, and then you watch the movie, it's just like, Like I don't know if they were worried about being censored because it's like from 72 or something like that, but like for like if you like read like what supposedly happens in the movie, it sounds like there's some dark, gruesome stuff, some maybe satanic, devilish stuff, and then you watch the movie, it's like no, not at all. Like even when they come back from the dead, they just look completely normal, right? Mm-hmm. Like they don't even look beat up or anything, nothing. I don't know. We were talking about like I watched the new Evil Dead Burn. I'm a little disappointed that like in these Evil Deads, like the Deadites just look like humans. Like I don't know. To me, Evil Dead Burn was just more or less people violently attacking each other in a house for like an hour. So
I get it.
couldn't
I
do
get it.
I would have liked to seen like a full demonic transformation, turn into a monster or something. I don't know. It's just people beating the shit out of each other. It's like I don't know.
Just this poor girl just turned into a puppet.
Yep. They put the kid in a sauna. I wouldn't want to wear jeans in a sauna. It's pretty smart though.
Well, I haven't been in too many saunas, but always a little bit paranoid with things like that. Just get locked in or some crazy glitch. I've
never enjoyed saunas. I've gone in them for the novelty of it, but I don't get what people like about it. Being hot and wet is not fun.
Oh.
I'm glad that like people from like Finland love it so much, but the sauna. Go in the sauna.
Oh, he's gonna take on big dude there.
Nunchaku. Just like I don't know if historically nunchucks were ever really a thing, but like Bruce Lee kind of made them into a thing.
They are an effective weapon.
They can be, yeah, but they're also a dangerous weapon if you don't know how to use them, right?
Yeah.
Smack yourself. So that's some nice white T-shirt action. The kid's right eye level with it too. He's having a good childhood.
I'm sure he remembers that moment well to this day. Yeah, I had a pair of those. I'm sure I've hit myself quite a few times just messing around.
Yeah. It was weird that like again, I think because they were worried about the violence. If you stuck with Ninja Turtles, this cartoon, if you watch later seasons, Michelangelo completely abandoned the nunchucks. Did you know that?
No.
If you watch late Ninja Turtles, he's not using them anymore. He mostly just uses like a grappling hook. Like he doesn't even have weapons. I think they might have gotten like angry letters or something about like kids trying to imitate it or something like that.
Yeah, back then. No doubt.
I mean, it's already problematic enough to have Leo running around with two big swords, which is why it's funny. It's like, we can't do it like the comics, which was actually quite violent. Like, so the Foot Clan are mostly robots. It's okay to beat up on robots, you know? That's what's funny about, like, their first ever episode is because, like, Leo fully commits to cutting this person in half and then finds out it's a robot. It's like, oh, these guys are... It's like, so Leo actually meant to totally kill this guy, and then he just discovers, hey, they're just robots, and then they beat the shit out of them.
That's kind of that era of one kid gets hurt because he was unsupervised, and then they demonize the hell out of whatever, whether it was sports or a movie.
Yeah, but I assume that's what happened. I think there were some complaints about nunchucks because, yeah, if you watch late season stuff, Mike doesn't use them at all. I don't even know if he even has them on his belt. He mostly just does like grappling hook shit. It's really weird.
Nope. Fatality.
Only a ninja can defeat a ninja. See, he's good, but he's not ninja good. That's the difference. Oh, and you missed? Come on. Final last words? You're late. Oh, shit.
Oh, now he's pissed. I'm sure this had to be an exciting day at the hotel they shot this at.
Yeah. As you said, it took them a couple of weeks to shoot this scene. It has some pyrotechnics and stuff in it.
We'll have to go back and see if they said it was LA at the beginning. I thought they did, but man, not even close.
Obviously, have to do the cut because people can't do that real jump.
Nah, you're definitely jamming up your knee on that one.
Yeah. I mean, they're not even rolling when they land, which is the one way you can possibly save yourself a little bit. I remember, like, because of the way this looks at the lines on the floor, like, misremembering that they were, like, on a tennis court. It's like, no, it's not a tennis court. One prime difference between ninja and samurai that is true, though, is the ninja's prerogative to live. Like, samurai, they're expected, like, if you gotta die, you gotta die, and usually dying is preferable to most things, like getting captured or living with the disgrace of defeat. It was very much a ninja prerogative to do whatever you could to survive, live. So sometimes it's unfair the way they clash them as opposites because it's not really historically how that worked, but that is one thing that was very true. Ninjas were not about sacrificing. Oh yeah, it has the net and everything. Okay, I thought it was just they had the painting on the thing. So I did remember right. It is a tennis court. That's funny. I completely forgot there was actually a net there. I thought I was just misremembering, but nope.
No. Unique having it on the roof like that.
Yeah. Seems like it would be better at night, but I guess at least that we can see everything really well in the broad daylight. It just seems sort of absurd for like two fully clothed ninjas just fighting out in the open in broad daylight. Yeah, it looks good. Nice standing backflip. Now we're trying hide and seek.
Nope. So all those unsuspecting drivers down there not realizing they're part of movie making history.
Very true.
Yeah, they really take their time with this fight, and
yeah, I appreciate it. I don't know where he had that. Was he stashed that on the roof? Whatever.
He planned that one out, I guess.
Yeah.
Just need to fight him to this exact spot.
Handstand. Come join me in the hot tub. Hot tubs feature much more prominently in this movie than you might think.
There are a lot of hot tub oriented action sequences.
Yeah, might hold the record.
A lot of misdirection with this.
Yeah, this guy really took the whole Shadow Warrior thing pretty seriously.
Maybe foreshadowing the ninjas' battle.
And he still was in the water. It's like a double fake out. I put a decoy in the water, but I actually am in the water too. And of course, now in the next shot, I'm not wet at all because that's another ninja ability. That's just an ability of people in movies in general to be like completely dry after getting out of like water.
That never messing your hair up if you're a Tom Cruise or Pierce Brosnan type.
Yeah. I like watching something like The Walking Dead where they're all messed up and everything, but they have like perfect teeth.
That is like that, and as somebody who stuck with it through the entire run, the fact that you still had obviously mowed lawns in some spots. Although they tried, but there were some cases where, what are we gonna do? Like, there are some areas we can't just like, hey, we're gonna need about a decade worth of overgrowth.
Overgrowth, yeah. I love overgrowth. I never get tired of that kind of stuff. Stuff set in like a future where things become overgrowth. Obviously, it's a bit easier to do in something like a video game than a movie. That's why like The Last of Us looks so good, or even Nier Automata. I love the world of Nier Automata.
Not to
Some
say
people
that
say Nier Automata. I can't say automata. I say automata. I can't say it. Nier Automata? No, I say automata.
I think one that did it right, regardless of what you think of the movie, is Resident Evil Extinction with Las Vegas, because it would all be covered in sand. It's the desert.
Yeah. It's funny, I did somewhat recently rewatch all those movies for the first time in a long time, and yet they still just go right out of my head. Like, I still don't remember what happens in most of them. The only one I really remember are the first two.
Zach Kreger is going to get his shot at it. In fact, I'll get to see that with the Flesh Wound guys when I'm down in LA.
The only way Resident Evil works is if, like, a mini-series or something. The whole point of Resident Evil is, like, it's a slow burn. But they turn them into these things that I've never liked.
The lowest point was the TV series they did for Netflix. It was quite awful.
Welcome to Raccoon City?
No, that's a movie. The TV series Netflix did. It's already kind of forgotten about.
I don't have any memory of that. They did a TV series?
They did on Netflix. It had almost a weird... it wasn't a family show, but it focused on kids, and it was just...
Oh, God.
It was not good. It's not
good. I think the issue with a lot of stuff that's like either a video game or a comic that gets turned into like TV and shows is like... that I think people don't understand is like people like me, I like the flaws of the original. Like people say, like if you actually like look up the storyline of Resident Evil and how it works in the games, it's like it's crazy and it doesn't make sense. I like that. Just like that's what I like about comic books, particularly like if you're talking about a shared universe like the Marvel universe or the DC universe. I like that flawed, sort of messy storytelling. It's what I'm used to. So seeing it tightened up, because people are just like, well, they're tightening it up. I'm like, yeah, but then it loses everything. I loved reading like a Spider-Man comic that's about Spider-Man fighting a villain, and then you get like 3 panels that are about something completely different that won't pay off for like 6 months. I like that, but nobody's going to stand for that in a movie or a fucking TV series, and they're not wrong. But I'm just saying, that's why these things can never translate the way I would want them to.
Yeah.
Because they're always about tidying things up. And people, just like I hate endings. Like, I guess I'm like the worst writer of all time because I typically don't like things that end. I just don't. So, yeah.
No.
To the point that, like, I watch very few television shows, but the ones I've watched, I don't think I've watched the last episode for any of them. The only one I can think of I did was 30 Rock. I did watch the final episode of 30 Rock. But even shows I didn't like years ago, because Jay liked it so much, I agreed that I would watch The Office. So I watched 9 seasons of The Office all in a row. I never really liked the show or cared, but I still never watched the final episode because I didn't want to see an ending.
I get that if you really like something. I've put it off on a few things.
My favorite stories are ones where they just go on. Or if there is an ending, the ending is just indefinite, like, well, things can go on. Oh, nice. Good blood spray.
There, well, I won't say what it is in case you watch it, but there is one of the... There you go. Exposed. There is one Walking Dead where people complained. It's like, well, it didn't have an ending. I'm like, yes, it did. And I was like, what did you just want them all to die or something? I mean, life goes on. I mean, it had an ending.
Yeah. I mean, the whole original purpose, I'm not a Walking Dead fan, TV or comics, honestly, but the original thing Robert Kirkman said was, my whole idea was, you watch a zombie movie and it's over. And he's like, what if it kept going? That was his whole thing. The idea of something that would keep going.
Different POVs and everything. I mean, you can kind of keep that forever. Father-son reunited. Kind of questionable whether Kathy should really have full redemption, but I guess she was hypnotized, so.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah,
some
I mean,
manipulation.
she was through some bad stuff. It's not like she wasn't a victim. She was certainly a victim. But yeah,
There we go.
it's a good movie.
Yeah,
I
I think it's a
mean,
very good movie. I think
especially when you measure it up against other like movies that would come with like the ninja thing attached to it, because there's a lot of low quality shit out there with ninja attached to it. I'd say it was, definitely on the higher end for sure.
oh yeah, I mean like Ninja Wars and just all these different I mean some of those are very fun, but they're undeniably
Mhm.
bad. Uh
I mean, I don't really think American Ninja is very good, but I do think it's fun.
it it'd be interesting to talk about those at some point. I mean, I was the right age, so
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
enjoyed
Michael
them.
Dudikoff's fine. He's never really won me over. Of course, Sho Kazuki was the fight choreographer in the movie. I mean, but yeah, like you said, Stephen Lambert. He only gets credit as stunt coordinator, but I mean that's him doing all the fighting at the end.
Oh, he had to do a lot on this. I do recommend the Kino Blu-ray does have a good commentary track where he
Yeah, like
talks about some of that, and yeah, he was a I don't want to say unsung hero, but he doesn't get credit for everything that he did.
Reeves. But yeah, I definitely felt like we had to touch on ninjas. So I'm glad that we've been able to touch on various sort of different subgenres or whatever, or eras. Even though we did wind up doing two movies from the same year back to back, but that's just incidental.
We've
I mean, any of the three from the trilogy would have been good, but this is what I decided to go with. Mostly because I remembered how good that end fight is, and it is really something.
I keep again, like it'd be nice to see another kind of ninja boom, but it's so hard now. It's so hard now because it
I think
goes
I
back.
could write a good. I think I could write a good ninja movie. I'm sure I could. Although I still long, like I said, to see like a show or something devoted to like real ninjas, because I think so few people know the actual history, and it is very interesting stuff for sure. I mean, I know a lot about Japanese history. I love Japan, so I'm big on their history anyway, and I feel like we don't get enough material even from that time period. It's interesting because like they like doing historical stuff about samurai, but they don't want to do historical stuff about ninja, which is odd.
Did you watch Into the Badlands at all? That was kind of an
Yeah,
interesting.
I watched a bit of it. Good concept. It was kind of like taking a little bit of Bruce Lee's original concept, the show that they rip him off for when they did Kung Fu. I'll give Bruce Lee credit. Like, he wasn't even mad when they turned him down, because he's like, well, I kind of get it. When they're like, oh, American audiences aren't ready for like a Chinese lead. And he's like, yeah, I guess so. Because it's like over here, it'd be the same thing. So, made a
It's
certain
funny
amount of
how
sense.
a lot of people back then just didn't really question it. It's like, oh yes, that Asian man, David Carradine.
David Carradine. For sure.
Not the most egregious casting at the time. I mean, you had Mickey
Yeah.
Rooney. Well, before
Yeah.
that,
So, like, so yeah, I remember The Legend Continues was the 90s show, and I remember seeing a bit of that as a kid.
I watched a lot of that as a
Probably
kid.
not even realize. I didn't really realize at the time it was a sequel to an older show. Like, it was just a
Yeah,
show that was on, and I watched some because it had some fighting and kicking in it, which was more rare than you might think.
I think everything now, like, not to say that it's all good because there's a lot of garbage, but they try and go a little bit too highbrow. I feel like with a lot of TV shows, and we don't have just those fun. Like, I mean, we mentioned last time Martial Law with Sammo Hung and Arsenio Hall. Not exactly deep, but just fun little action show. Walker,
Mm-hmm.
Texas Ranger. Definitely nothing deep about that, but just one you could
No,
sort
it
of.
seems more, even the action-oriented stuff is still like hinging on sort of a more serious type of. Well,
Yeah.
there was a. I think there another show. I think it was maybe just called Kung Fu that I used to record, and I was interested. It might have just been called Kung Fu. I'm not sure, but it was about an American Chinese woman, which I thought was really interesting. I had to look it up
Oh, it's
because I remember.
it's the new version of Kung Fu. Is what it is. It's I never watched it, but yeah, it was I can't
Okay,
remember the
I
actress.
thought it was unrelated. I thought I thought it was just its own thing, but I did like it because, as I said, one thing that I feel like doesn't get touched on enough of is whether it's going to be something based in reality or just fiction. Is I always was interested in like Asian gangs in the United States, particularly like in the 60s, 70s, 80s, stuff like that. That always interested me. There's really not enough information about some of that stuff. You think? I always wondered I always heard Year of the Dragon was like a big folly by Michael Cimino. I always wanted to see it.
I like Year of the Dragon.
I suspect I would like it. Like it was a big flop and everything, and I'm sure it had its issues, but I suspect it's a movie I would enjoy. I've always been interested in.
Sometimes there's a lot of these movies that, because they're flops, people almost forget in their memory. It's like, oh, it must have been a bad movie. It was a flop, but it's been many years, but I remember liking Year of the Dragon quite a bit.
Well, as I like to do on the channel and stuff like that, is sometimes the stuff I used to do with Jay too is like we'd examine flops, and a lot of the time it was more a timing issue or a marketing issue than whether or not the movie was good. One I always felt strongly about that we did that I really think is a great movie to this day is we did Cloud Atlas. I think Cloud Atlas is an amazing achievement of a movie. I have the book. I love the book very much. Speaking of that, that same author does one of my favorite books, the Thousand Autumns of somebody. Anyway, it's set in I think like 15th or 16th century Japan about a guy from the Dutch East India Company and his experiences in Japan at a time when Japan was, of course, closed off to the rest of the world and wouldn't allow them on. But Japan had this little island where that was off the coast that they made exceptions so that foreigners could land there and do trade. It's a exhaustively researched historical novel, and it's just amazing. It's David Mitchell, by the way. He's the authors. But anyway, I think that when I just remember it was a sort of a big movie for that when I was talking about Cloud Atlas, and it just sort of came and went, and then it was considered. And then all these reviews came in trashing it. It was considered this big debacle and this big failure by the Wachowskis. Like, so I didn't even go see it in theater, which I super regret. And then when I saw it, I was like, this was an incredible movie, and like for a book that seems so unadaptable, they did a phenomenal job. In some ways, they do things better because, well, the book has to jump from thing to thing. Some of these scene transitions were beautiful. And of course, the fact that the story relies on the idea of reincarnation. Of course, that's one thing a movie has over a book is you can have actors and cast them in the same roles, right? Like, and I get it caught flack because you had actors playing people of different races and even different sexes or genders or whatever like that. But I don't know. I don't think it should have been a big issue because that was sort of the point of what was going on there. Now, there was something that like some Asian American League said that I get what they were saying because they were pointing out hypocrisy because they had like an actor that was basically doing like yellow face to play he was a Caucasian playing sort of an Asian character. And they were just saying like, well, nobody seems to care about that, but everybody loses their mind if there's blackface in a movie. And they're not wrong. And I'm not trying to get in the middle of it. I'm a white person. What do I know about either experience? But I do feel like some of it was missing the point of what the movie was trying to do. Anyway, I think that's just an example of a movie that was a big flop that, like, I think was a fantastic movie that audiences are just too stupid to understand if I'm going to be a snob about it.
There's
it's a multi-layered movie. It jumps around between the storylines. It's got some high concepts. I get why.
It's heavy, and like some people just want the popcorn film. But I mean, there were a lot of high concept things a little bit earlier than that. But stuff like The Fountain, with Hugh Jackman, that I don't believe that did very well at the box office. But
it's funny because is that Aronofsky?
The Fountain was, yes.
Yeah, because I remember I was trashing Aronofsky. We were having a conversation about it. I do think The Fountain's pretty good, so I don't hate everything he's done. The one I like is the first one, is the drug one.
Yeah, it's visually it's beautiful, but I mean,
I do like The Fountain, but I'm not a fan of Aronofsky. But I do think The Fountain is an interesting film. I get why it didn't succeed, but yeah, like sometimes when you have these higher concept things, like it's not like this. Like it's one of those cases where you hear about studio execs and producers and executive meddling, and on the outside it's like, we get it. They're out there to make a buck. They don't really know anything about art or film. And sometimes you think, does that get blown out of proportion? It's like, honestly, it fucking doesn't. Because I look at the history of some of these movies and I just don't understand what is going through their minds. Like one of my favorite films is Brazil. At what point, and for Brazil, of course, is very famous for the level of executive meddling that went on for it, because try to make it more palatable. But I'm like, at what point, when this script and everything was approved, did you think this is a movie that has a broad appeal, that a whole bunch of people are going to like and be a big box? Like, no. Even at its best, it was never going to be that, and yet they were still trying. Like, we'll change the ending, and we'll edit out the dream stuff, and we'll do everything. Like,
I
why?
just saw a movie, and it's not for everybody, but it's called Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma, and it is
Title.
it's a slasher movie, but it's not a traditional slasher movie. But there's a scene where the director character is pitching her concept for resurrecting this old slasher franchise to executives on Zoom, and it's really, really funny because I've known people who've had to do that, and just having to like make the money people understand what you're trying to do. Pitching something like The Fountain had to be a nightmare, or Cloud Atlas to the money people, just sitting there like.
Again, I don't mean to be a snob, and I like plenty of things that have broad appeal. I do, of course I do. I like lots of things, but not everything has to be that way. And it just bothers me that, like, when it comes to so many people for shows and TV, like, that's their number one goal. Like, make this appeal to the broad. Like, that's why it's so easy for me to hate the showrunners of Game of Thrones, because they said, we want to make this appeal to the broadest audience possible. I'm like, well, by doing that, you fucking ruined it, so. But I mean, they were just honest, at least, about saying that.
That's an interesting show to watch too, because as you get a little bit later, you can see that they were told to soften a little bit on some of the sexual content, the sexual assault, and just the.
Well, what's funny is all that stuff exists in the book. They were the ones that played it up themselves. There's actually more sexual violence in the early seasons of the show than actually happens in the book, or at least is shown in the book. Because sometimes the book might... and here's one thing. Like, we all know, a big plot point is that Theon was tortured for a long time, right? Everybody knows that. In the book, we don't see Theon for ages. He disappears for an entire fucking book before he comes back. Then when we get Theon, we just get little snippets of little memories. We don't get full-on torture scenes. But the show's like, we can't have this actor and character disappear for like a whole season. That doesn't work. So we'll just have to keep constantly cutting back to him getting brutally tortured. That's the only way. But, the whole point was, yes, in both stories, it's true. Theon was brutally tortured. That's part of the story. But the way it's told in the book is it's just alluded to. There's no long, drawn-out scenes of him being tortured or anything like that.
Castrated.
We just get hints of it later on. Little memories and things like that. It's much classier, And I get it. People can attack George R. Martin for whatever reason, but I mean, he's actually pretty classy about the whole torture thing. Just like in both versions, it's true that Joffrey was bad, but in the show, they played it up so much more. They gave him so many more things to do and say that he just doesn't in the book, because they were like, oh, big villain. And I think that's one of the reasons why they did what they did with, again, we don't have time for this. We'll be here for 6 hours. I want to keep this focus on what we're focusing, but I'll very quickly just say that's one of the reasons why they played up the torture so much, because, of course, as spoilers people, Joffrey dies, and they're like, we need another big hateable villain, and they made it into Ramsay. Now, in the book, Ramsay's a super hateable villain, but the truth is he's not really that important. And even though we're at a point where for the last 15 years we've been stuck, I promise you, going forward, Ramsay's not going to play a big role. He'll probably be killed very soon. Where things end in the 5th book is Stannis has his army out in the snow, and they've been like dealing with this brutal blizzard and everything. And even though they're in really bad shape, I can tell, just because it's easy enough to understand when you've read the books as many times as I have, that Stannis is not beaten, and that when Ramsay finally attacks him, he's going to lose that battle. But I'm pretty sure they did the opposite on the show. I didn't watch, but I'm pretty sure on the show they were like, Stannis is ineffectual and eventually he'll just get killed. And Ramsay's a big time villain and he'll have to fight Jon. I'm telling you now, I guarantee that is not going to happen in the books. That's never been the way Ramsay has been treated or set up. But again, the show was like, we need a big hateable villain and we'll make him into that. But that's not what he is. But anyway, we don't have time. You and I can talk privately It'll be fun. You can listen to me blather on forever because A Song of Ice and Fire is burned into my head, man. I've read the book so many times. And I only watched the show up to the first few episodes of the 5th season before I just said, nope, can't do it. Didn't even like the 4th season very much. So I have a million opinions, but this is not the place for that. So thanks to everybody that tuned in for Revenge of the Ninja. I really appreciate that. And it was fun talk about Canon Group and to talk about Ninja historically and their impact on pop culture. And yeah, I feel like in the 3 we've done so far, we touched different bases in the action world. I want to do something with a female lead pretty soon, maybe even next. I would really like to get one of those female martial artists. So we'll figure that out. I actually have, hopefully this week, I've got a set of Angela Mao movies coming in. Could even be one of those because I adore her so much. I'm still embarrassed I couldn't remember her name in the first episode. But anyway, so yeah, I would really like to do something with a female lead next. Well, and again, we'll see where we go. And while I still have the MGM thing for another couple weeks, maybe we can do Bloodsport. We'll see. Because Bloodsport is, of course, super fun. And I'll just answer that question. People like Kickboxer or Bloodsport. I am Bloodsport. Like, Kickboxer is maybe the better movie overall, but I enjoy Bloodsport more. It's more pumped up. It's more spectacle, I guess. It has a little bit more of that 80s gloss to it, I would say. I don't know. They're both awesome, of course. But I take, because, I mean, they're very similar movies, right? And I like tournament movies. Like you and I were talking about the later one he did when his career was going downhill. He did The Quest. The Quest isn't as good as those, but I still have a soft spot for it. I like tournament style movies, like fighters from different regions and different styles. That's why I don't really like MMA anymore, because MMA has become completely homogenized. Doesn't matter where you're from. Everybody has the same sort of boring style. I mean, yeah, sometimes guys are considered better wrestlers or better strikers, but still it doesn't. It's not like it was back in the day, right? Like 20 years ago and more, when you had fighters from vastly different backgrounds fighting each other. But I'll still watch the odd MMA stuff here and there every once in a while, because there's a Canadian event happening soon, I think, because I really dropped off because I hate the UFC now and I hate Dana more than ever, and most of the fighters are pieces of shit. But there is a rising Canadian contender.
You didn't watch the White House fight.
I mean, I wouldn't have watched that under almost any circumstances, right? You put in all the political spectacle and bullshit too. I mean, at one point they had some guy screaming that Michelle Obama was a man. And again, regardless of what you think about the Obamas, is that really what you want to see when you tune into a sporting event? Some guy screaming out a ridiculously, I don't know, offensive and stupid politically charged statement. Is that what you want to see? I mean, I just miss the idea of martial artists actually having honor and dignity and sportsmanship instead of just a bunch of pissed off loudmouths, But people like that, they know that's what gets them, it worked. I mean, Conor McGregor really helped ruin everything, right? Because he showed if you're mouthy enough and interesting enough, people get behind it and you'll get fights and title shots and things you don't really deserve, blah, blah, blah. So he's again, there were mouthy fighters before him, but he showed this is the way. You don't have to be the best. And again, it's not like Conor wasn't a good fighter. He proved himself. He beat very good fighters, but now he hasn't had a win in 7 years. And his last comeback, he broke his leg or something. I don't know. I remember Ork briefly saying, "Well, you'd be pleased that he broke his leg." I'm not pleased at all. If I was pleased, it would see him get soundly beaten, not him have a freak injury and just be like, "Oh, well, bad luck." That's what I want to see. When there are fighters I dislike, I don't want to see them fall and break their leg. I want to see them get completely destroyed by the other guy. But I can't even do that now, because now anytime I put on the UFC, if I've even heard of them, it's probably two guys who I hate equally because they're both pieces of shit. Sean Strickland is human garbage, man. It is funny that he's turned on Trump. That's funny, but he doesn't change the fact of what he actually is and all the horrible things he says and does. I mean, there's one guy who's a literal Nazi, some Southerner who's basically a Nazi that went on talking about how Hitler was a cool guy and you like to hang out with him because all he did was get rid of all the Jews and fags, and that's not a bad thing. And and then people asked Dana White what he thought of that, and he's like, "Yeah, he's an idiot, but he has the right to say that." I was like, "Yeah, he has the right to say that in America, but you could actually do something about the organization you run. Imagine working in an office with somebody who was just an open Nazi and the boss being like, 'That's his right.' That wouldn't work." Anyway. So yeah, the UFC has always been bad, but it's sunk to a new horrible level. It doesn't make. I mean, I think the point of no return was Dana smacking his wife on TV and no one caring at all.
Oh, yeah,
Imagine if like the commissioner of the NBA was on camera just smashing his wife. And then the commissioner of the NBA went on TV and was
during
like,
a
I
fight,
shouldn't have
didn't
done
he?
that.
Or
What?
was it at a UFC event? I remember
No,
that.
no, it wasn't at all. It was like they were like some New Year's event. It had nothing to do with UFC. They were just out at some New Year's event. They got in a big fight. He slapped her, then stood over her when he hit her with enough force to knock her down, then stood over her and yelled at her even more. Like he showed an abusive, psychotic piece of shit he is. Then he went on TV and gave like an apology, and his wife was like, "Oh, well, I'm not going to press charges, blah, blah, blah." And we just moved on. Like that would never happen in any other sport, ever. The commissioner of the NFL or the NBA doing that. You think he wouldn't be gone in like that? But everyone just shrugs their shoulders like, well, it's UFC, it's classless fools anyway, so Dana might as well keep doing what he's doing, employing Nazis and letting them say whatever they want to say. So
I forgot about the slap. I don't follow UFC very
closely. I did closely for years until probably about 21, 22, and I was just I can't do it anymore, man. So.
You can see a lot of the stuff free now just with the TV plan I have. So for the longest time it was like, yeah.
Well, I never feel guilty. I never paid for shit, and I don't feel guilty about it because they're horrible. I am proud that I illegally streamed all their events. I only ordered one, and what's funny is the one I ordered.
Some of them were like
worked out perfectly.
Some of them were like $70, $80, $90, like for some of those giant fights, and it's like, nah, I'm sorry.
The only one I ever paid for actually worked out. Like maybe it was still too much, but it was GSP's comeback fight when he fought for the middleweight title. Because not only did he win emphatically, but like the rest of the card was actually very good. So I'll never pay again. But no, I feel completely happy and proud of illegally streaming their shit because they're awful people and they employ mostly awful people. Like I'm sure there's at least a handful of fighters that are still decent people, but I don't know. I can't find them. I don't hear about them. They're under a mountain of assholes. Anyway, I kept this going too long. So thanks again. We'll be back soon, maybe with Bloodsport. If not that, then maybe we can go in the direction with a female league because that'd be pretty cool as we continue our action series. So thanks very much for everybody that joined us, and we'll see you all next time. Have a good one. Peace out and good night.